Our YouTube channel got taken over by hackers.
And there's so many new attacks out there. Oftentimes you don't know what you need to do to protect your accounts.
So how do you protect your YouTube channel from hackers?
Forbes posted this article about this YT stealer attack. So oftentimes it's incredibly hard to know if somebody has stolen this information until it happens. They start working so quickly to change everything around, to make you lose permissions, make you lose access.
I'm talking with a cybersecurity expert to give us the updates we need to know right now. Recently, we actually lost our Think Media podcast channel for 10 days. It was very scary. We thought all of our videos and all of our hard work was gone. And so we're going to be unpacking that situation and then looking into some of the things like tools and mistakes and how creators can protect themselves, not just on YouTube, but their online presence overall. And what are some of the biggest threats right now? Cyber threats are costing creators massive millions and even billions of dollars, businesses. It's a horrible issue. And so I'm super excited to be with Shannon Morse, who's here today. She's a security and privacy advocate, and she's an entrepreneur whose goal is to help inspire others to live life to the fullest while not sacrificing their identity, ethics, or privacy. And cool fact about Shannon is she built her first computer around age 9 and then later went on to teach herself HTML and simple coding while building websites dedicated to her favorite fandoms. So she's been in the game and she is incredible and was generous enough to reach out on Twitter when I was like, we got hacked. She shared some valuable resources there. And so Shannon, welcome to the Think Media podcast.
Hi, Sean. Thank you so much for having me on. And that was such a sweet intro.
I appreciate you so much. We were able to connect at Vid Summit a few years back, and you've got an incredible YouTube channel with these types of tips. But I want to first break into just kind of the story, and those that are subscribers here know we got hacked. All of a sudden, our channel's taken over. It's changed from Think Media to Tesla Official. I've seen this happen many times. Oftentimes on my smart TV, I see Tesla CEO or Tesla Official is live and Elon is talking. And I'm like, that's probably not Elon Musk, but this is very common actually. They're hacking a lot of channels of different sizes, privating the videos, and then pushing out a live stream with pre-recorded Elon Musk content, and then soliciting crypto, especially because Elon's a crypto kind of advocate, right? And making a lot of money. And a lot of friends rallied to help me with the situation here. And so the first thing is you kind of said this is maybe a YT stealer account. Maybe you can ask me some questions and let's unpack this situation before we maybe go a little bit macro and give tactical things for everybody listening to apply.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad that you asked me to do this video with you too, because I haven't talked directly with any of my friends who have had their channels hacked yet. So this is a really good learning, educational experience for me, so I can tell people better how to protect themselves. So yeah, I'm curious, do you know what it was that ended up allowing somebody to hack your account? Do you know what the target entry point was?
So what we do know is that Google emailed us and they said they emailed us the date of the hack was Wednesday, January 11th, 2003, that they
2003
2023 to be sure. And
well, they've had access to your account for such a long time.
Before YouTube even existed, for that matter. And,
that's amazing.
Now, what's scary is we did have two-factor authentication.
Right.
On.
Good.
And to be clear of how that works, at least the way we have it set it up, is when you log into the YouTube channel, if someone else is logged in, and one of our vulnerabilities is we do have multiple people working on our channels. This was also not our main channel with over 2 million subscribers. This was our podcast channel right around 75,000 at the time, I think. When we do two-factor, this will happen in our world all the time. I'm watching YouTube on my phone, I'm on my desktop, and a screen will pop up and it'll say, hey, somebody in such and such state, somebody in such and such place is trying to log in, and you can approve or deny. We maybe became a little bit lax with approving and denying that. And of course, we know where our team works and they're all spread out in different states. And so whether it wasn't me that approved it, somebody that had access that's logged in could approve somebody else. And we believe that was the vulnerability point. And if you say, try another way, it wasn't a text message code situation that happened. It was that approve or deny. And Melissa on our team mentioned that I think she saw one pop up, was suspicious of where it was, did not click it, but I think someone else on our team clicked approve. And so that's all I know. That at that moment, though, once they got past two-factor authentication, Google said they changed the code to a physical USB key. So you can coach us on that a little bit later of how powerful that would have been if we had one of those. But then they took over. By now, we were pushed out. And what was also interesting is some of our managers who didn't have authority were still in there. So they started watching them making changes. They watched them change the videos to private. They watched them, and thank God they didn't delete.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. So they made the videos all private. They didn't private the live stream. So the main page is all private. The live streams were like still public. Half of them were privated. And then what was also super funny was after the channel was hacked, it became Tesla official. They delete the about page. They changed the cover, the logo. They tried to do a live stream and one of our managers shut it down because they were allowed. So that was even funnier. Like, so it's almost like they were kind of fighting back and forth inside of there. Ultimately,
but there's only so much you can do if they already have access to the account.
At the highest level. And then they kicked all the managers out. So it's just them. And we also then had to schedule upload because we upload our podcast on Tuesday and on Thursday. And so a video came out with no thumbnail because we hadn't uploaded one. And so all of a sudden my latest video dropped on Tesla official. And some people saw it and they're like, did you get hacked? Where'd all your other videos go? Is this the right channel? Did someone steal Sean's content? And so
oh my goodness.
We had to reach out to, we started with tweeting YouTube on Twitter, which is what they tell people to do. Although all they did was send us to the main page where we had to fill out email and reach out to Google support. And I did, my friend Benji Travis, who, you know, co-author of YouTube Secrets, he said, try to really blow it up and get everyone to share. I don't think they expedited anything, which is fine. It is what it is. But because it took a while. It was a while to get responses. It was days to get a response. It was, 48 hours. Then it was like a while to kind of go back and forth and get some things going. And so for 10 days, the channel was down. But eventually, mid that process, the hacker got kicked out, but they then slowly started restoring our channel to us. And then when we got it back, so the attackers changed the YouTube channel name from Fake Media Podcast to Tesla Official. I'm reading an email they sent. They summarized it, right? They removed the team's emails, no longer granting them moderator. They changed the icon avatar banner, made all the videos change to private. And that all happened on January 11th, 2023. Again, when we discovered, though, that we got the channel back, we turned all the private videos back to public, had to re-upload the cover and rebuild the homepage and just all the different features because all of that was just kind of zeroed out. And so it's a pretty wild story. It
turns into a lot of work. And I think when it comes to YouTube content creation, there's so many creators who want to get the ball rolling and want to start growing their accounts and want to start growing their channels. But if you're growing and you're not protecting it in an efficient manner, and there's so many new attacks out there that oftentimes you don't know what you need to do to protect your accounts, then you could potentially lose income. And I feel like when it comes to your channel, as an example, it can absolutely affect your growth on the platform because you're not uploading during that time, and it can affect your income. And if you have a large growing channel, if you're depending on that income, it can really, really hurt you.
100%. And what's interesting is I had my friend Jake Larson, who runs YouTube ads more for like service professionals and experts. And he said 5 of their channels got hacked the day before Christmas.
Oh, no.
Another person who I didn't get their permission, who we both know, so I don't know if they want to know that they got hacked, also got hacked. And their channel manager DM'd me and said, hey, we went through this. We did get it back. It was frustrating. And so I had a lot of, what was interesting is a lot is subjective, but this appears to be very common. And it was kind of like a wave, like it just was hitting a lot of different people. And so you mentioned a YT Stealer attack. And
yes.
Thomas Frank said it's probably browser hijacking or session hijacking. So what are some of those things? We can maybe tackle those of what maybe could have happened here.
Yeah, absolutely. So just I would say like 8 months ago or so, Forbes posted this article about this YT stealer attack. That's what this attack is being called. And the whole point of it is to steal YouTube authentication cookies. And kind of in order to understand what these authentication cookies do, it's whenever you hop on your computer or hop on your phone and you first log into your account, you're clicking around inside your account. You don't have to log in every single time you change your page. And oftentimes you can stay logged in for like a month at a time before you have to re-log into your account. And that's because you have cookies on your computer that are saving your information and saving it as this special session. And if somebody else is able to steal the code for that session, then they could use that same information to bypass all the credentials and log into your account on their own computer. Even though it's a completely different machine, it might be on a different IP address, it might be in a completely different country. It can work. And in the case of the YT stealer attack, a lot of people are purporting that this is probably malware that somehow ends up on your machine that is harvesting that information. It's harvesting the credentials or it's harvesting the session ID in order to steal it and gain access to the account. So oftentimes it's incredibly hard to know if somebody has stolen this information until it happens. And then as soon as it happens and they're in, they start working so quickly to change everything around, to make you lose permissions, make you lose access, that you end up having a closed down account for like 10 days, like in your example, until you can finally get access back.
Wow. And so ultimately then we could break down what are the dumb mistakes people make, or just the unknowing mistakes they make that could allow and lead to malware getting on their machine. And is there also tools you recommend for maybe someone saying, is there malware on my machine right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So MalwareBytes, 100%. That's one of my favorite tools. It's free and you can download it. Sometimes they prompt you to pay for the free service. You can totally upgrade if you want to, but I use the free version. Windows Defender works wonderfully well for antivirus if you're on a Windows computer. If you're using Linux or Mac, if you want to switch to one of those don't seem to be as targeted as much when it comes to these kinds of attacks. So you could totally switch operating systems. But if you're like me and you're a big Windows geek, then I fully understand if you wouldn't want to. So that can definitely help. And it seems like one of the biggest ways that people are getting attacked is through fake emails that are being sent to them. So one of the ways is maybe an attacker pretends or copies a YouTube copyright warning and they email it to you. It looks totally legit, but it's not. So if you click on a link within that email and you log into your account, that's giving them access to your credentials. So that could allow them to get access to your information. Another way is fake sponsorship or fake advertisement emails. A lot of people are getting those too. And luckily, a lot of content creators have been sharing those on social media. So they'll share screenshots and be like, I don't think this is real. You can oftentimes tell from the domain, but domains can also be duplicated. They can be faked. So you can't really depend on just the domain address and an email address and an email form. Oftentimes you have to look at more than just that. Look at the grammar. You could look up the name of the person signing the email and see if they're on LinkedIn or social media. And you could reach out to them on social media and say, hey, are you actually did you send me this email from your PR company or from your brand? Did you actually want to sponsor on my channel? And oftentimes you'll get a reply like, yes, I did, or no, that's not me. So that's one way that you can kind of see if somebody is sending you a fake email or see if it's legitimate. Oh my gosh, I could go so deep when it comes to just like email protection and ways that these attackers are able to hack into content creators' YouTube's account just through email. Oftentimes it just comes down to making you click a fake link that sends you to a website that looks like YouTube, but it's not. So they are able to steal your credentials, so username and password, or they're getting you to click on like maybe a PDF, like here's this PDF, please check this to see what we're looking for our sponsorship inquiry. You click on it and it downloads malware. Oftentimes executables or malware will be embedded inside these kinds of documents like PDFs or docx type of files. And those can end up downloading onto your computer. And that can be a really, really bad way for them to actually get into your information and steal your cookie, steal your session ID.
Wow. And so is this also, it's what's called phishing, or it's related to phishing?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So phishing is, it's, the name kind of makes sense when you think about it. When you go to a lake or go to the ocean, you're fishing. You're fishing for fish, and you're hoping that one of them is going to stick on your line. Then you can take it home and cook it for dinner that night if you're into fish. I am. I love salmon. It's so delicious. But online phishing is very similar. You have spear phishing where they're directly targeting people, and then you have regular phishing where an attacker might send out like a massive email to a ton of content creators, and hopefully one catches onto that line and downloads that malware. Because if even one person does it, then it's worth their time. Then they might be able to make some income from it, especially if they're sending out like live streams for you to, I don't know, send money to a crypto wallet or something.
100%. And I see this, in fact, I use Coinbase and I'm thinking about the different emails I get, and constantly it's like, your account's under attack, or please update your thing, or in fact, this is interesting and relevant. Once we got hacked and I started sharing on social media, people tried to double hack me on Twitter. Like they started saying like,
I see those all the time. Yeah.
Like, oh, we can help. Like, oh, we go help you get your account back. And I'll be looking at them like, here's this little sketchy account on top of that. And so, just send us your info and so I'm like, what? Oh my gosh. Like what a sinister plot here of
sinister
trying to hack the hacked. And so, so probably somebody clicked the link, maybe logged in their credentials, clicked a link or open an email they shouldn't have.
Right.
Are you vulnerable from just clicking a link potentially?
Yeah, you can be. A lot of times there are malicious websites where as soon as you visit them, they might try to start scraping data from your computer, from your session, or from your machine that you are using. And from that data, they might be able to scrape enough information about it to either get you to automatically download some kind of executable or some kind of malware, or they might be able to steal enough information to gain access to your accounts. One way that you can tell if an account is malicious or not is which don't click on links at all. One extension I use in Chrome is called uBlock Origin. It's completely free. It starts with a U. Block origin. And that one will trigger a little response within the browser that says, hey, this is a potentially malicious link. Do you want to proceed? And it gives you the option to proceed, yes or no. Oftentimes I find that it is a little bit trigger happy when it comes to warning you, but it's a good thing to have if you want to be extremely cautious and extremely skeptical when it comes to links in your email. Another way to completely bypass clicking on links in email is just to go straight to the YouTube Studio. Because if you're going to have a prompt about like a copyright notice or a warning on your account, or if there's some kind of like advertising revenue issue, sign into your AdSense account directly as opposed to clicking on a link in your email, or go to studio.youtube.com and log in directly as opposed to clicking on an email. Because any of those prompts you're going to see on your dashboard, they're not just going to send it to your email. They're going to put it on your dashboard as well so that it's very clear and you can respond directly to YouTube or to AdSense or whatever some attacker is trying to steal from you.
This video is brought to you by StreamYard. StreamYard is our go-to platform for streaming to YouTube and Facebook with an incredibly easy to use interface for built-in branding, transitions, text lower thirds, and seamlessly bringing on guests. It really is one of the best options when it comes to live streaming. And what's so cool is they've implemented a brand new feature called local recording. Take control of your audio and video with local recordings by separating out your audio and video from your guests. This feature gives you the control over your content for later use, making it perfect for podcasts and video creators. Just go to streamwiththink.com to get started now.
So powerful. Now you shared 3 tips, and then you may have others as far as like, well, what do we do to protect ourselves? How do we solve this problem? And on Twitter, you mentioned number 1, use Yubico to protect your account from two-factor authentication phishing. I looked these up. They're little USB keys or USB-C that you plug into your physical machine. It looks like they're right around $50, $60, $70 on Amazon.
Where are mine? Oh, I have one here. Yes, that's what it looks like. I have
Amazing.
a sticker on mine, so I can tell that it's mine. That's how I identify it. But yes, you can pick these up for less than $50. I recommend getting 2. And you can register any account online that accepts hardware tokens or hardware keys for multi-factor authentication. You can plug one of those in and use it to log into your account. The way those work is you type in your username and password, you click on login, and then on a next page, it'll say like, hey, you have to plug in your hardware key and click on it in order to authenticate your account and allow you to authenticate and log into your account. This is kind of an upgrade from using codes that are sent to your email or sent to text message. And it's also an upgrade from using an application that generates little 6-digit codes. And you've probably seen that happen a lot with, like, if you're logging into your bank, they might send you a 6-digit code, or your ISP, or your email address even. A lot of them automatically force you to set up 2FA, and you might not even know it's happening, but then you get sent the 6-digit code. You have to type it in within like 60 seconds to log in. The problem with that, though, is when you're typing in these codes, if somebody's stuck malware on your computer, they could be watching your screen and they could get that code, and they could get your username and password. So if they have all 3 of those little pieces of information that you type in, then they could log in, no problem. The thing with the hardware key is they can't duplicate it because they don't have the hardware key. So unless they're like in your house and they steal your key, they're not going to be able to log in. So if they're trying to log in with username, password, and a hardware key, they're going to get stuck. They're going to get blocked by that brick wall made by the YubiKey. Google makes one called the Google Titan, and it's going to stop them right in their tracks, and they won't be able to log in. Now, if they have somehow stolen your session ID, like with the YT Stealer attack, this is the big reason why we don't want to get malware on our computers. That could allow them to bypass 2FA, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't have a hardware key on your account, because that's going to protect you from even more attacks outside of YouTube Stealer that might potentially try to hit you from other various circumstances. So you should be taking a kind of a holistic approach to online security and privacy when it comes to your account, and trying to think like a hacker, like think of all the different ways that an attacker could potentially get into your account, and make sure that you're protecting it even further. Try to take it a step further so you're never the low-hanging fruit, because the higher up you are in terms of security and privacy, the better off you'll be, and the less likely you will be a target. And if you were in a situation where, question one, you're an individual creator, so you get one of these physical keys, and Shannon's got some resources and some videos on this. She reviewed some. We'll link those in the show notes, as well as, do you recommend Yubico over Google's Titan? I do. And the main reason is because they're not very expensive. So honestly, it's like, it's an upfront cost, and then it's free to use forever until like you break one or lose one. And then you just buy a new one. And they have a lot of different options. So Google Titan has a few different options, which will round you out pretty well. But if you want to use them across all sorts of different platforms, like I'm a tech reviewer, so I have like an iPhone, and I have an Android device, and I have a Linux box and a Windows computer. So I need all sorts of different ports, NFC, Bluetooth, whatever. So I have a bunch of different Yubicos, and that way I can use them across the board, like across any of the different browsers that I have, or different operating systems that I have. The nice thing about it too is whenever you set one of these up on your YouTube account, you can set up multiple of them. So if you're worried that you're going to lose one, don't be. Like, just buy 2. Set them both up at the same time, store one away in a safe, or like if you have a bank safe at your bank, you could store it there. Just store it somewhere safe and secure where like nobody can get to it. And then use your other one whenever you need to log in. And like we mentioned earlier with cookies and sessions allow you to stay logged in for a long period of time. So you don't have to use it every single day. You're only going to have to use it whenever you need to set up a new account, set up a new computer, computer or a phone, or if for some reason you've erased all your cookies and you need to re-log into your account, then you would need to use your Yubico again. So you don't really have to carry it around with you everywhere or anything like that. Like, it's not very inconvenient to use. I have one that I generally just keep plugged into my computer in a secure space. And then my other one I keep in a secure place that nobody knows about. It's a secret place.
So if you're an individual creator, getting two would be smart, exactly how you just described. If you were in our case and there was some people that you wanted states apart, would you get 5 or 10 of them and mail them out and get them all so that anybody that needed to be at that level would have this physical Yubico USB drive at that level?
Absolutely. And in fact, a lot of companies have been doing that this year. For example, there's a big company called Cloudflare. They're in charge of a bunch of connections online. They make sure that your connections work and they protect you from attacks on the internet if you have a domain with them. Without going into too much detail about Cloudflare themselves, they're a very large company with tons of employees. They were attacked last year, and this attacker was trying to get into employee accounts, trying to phish them for information, trying to get somebody to accidentally give them like their username and password and 2FA code, but they got blocked because they were using hardware keys. So because the attacker didn't have one of these hardware keys, they weren't able to get in. Due to that cause, like, that's a great example of what, us YouTubers with a team of like 20 or less people, even more than that if you have a big team, you can just buy 2 per person and have each person set up a couple of them, just walk them through. It's really, really easy to set them up, have them store one away, have them keep one on their keychain or whatever is more convenient for them. And then they can use that to log in. And then like maybe every week or every month or so, you could even like ask them to delete their cookies and refresh their browser history so that if there was some kind of malware on their computer that was trying to steal their session ID, then the session ID gets refreshed and they would have to re-log in and use that Yubico one more time. When you mentioned that, I believe her name was Melissa, who she had mentioned that she saw the approve or deny request on her phone. So that's an attack which is currently being used by a lot of attackers called 2FA. It's where they're trying to get you to just approve that request. It's called 2FA fatigue. And that's where you just get so tired of seeing the approve or deny that eventually you're like, oh, it must be somebody on my team. Like, it's 9 p.m., whatever, I'm tired. Like, I'm just going to hit approve and it's fine. Like, it looks legit, right? So it must be legit. 2FA fatigue has been used for a lot of these companies. Reddit, Twilio, I believe Uber was one of those. So a lot of companies have had their 2FA bypassed or attacked specifically because these attackers are getting smarter. So by upgrading to hardware keys, not only are you protecting yourself from, potentially somebody stealing your codes, but also these 2FA fatigue requests. So make sure that everybody has one of these. And it's a much better way to protect yourself.
We were in 2FA fatigue. And we got comfortable. It happens. We're like, this is cool and it's safe. Whether we're logged in, just approve. Like, people are doing it all day, every day. And as you scale, we got to have you back sometime in the future, because this is an ongoing conversation, an ongoing challenge, obviously, because as you scale, you get more people. And some of this stuff feels like it's kind of frustrating. And you're like, how do we do this at scale? How do we, keep people safe? And another thing that might be interesting to you was we're pretty sophisticated. Maybe the better thing to say is we are pretty unsophisticated as a company, and we need to grow up and become sophisticated. And, I started shooting videos, of course, like all creators, like just in my bedroom and solo creator. And then eventually started growing to a team and even having like a website, now we have like an HR department, like whatever. But like we had a majority of people were just using their own personal emails. Ooh. And we just now got everybody to thinkmedia.com. And so even having, but even any thoughts on that?
Yeah, actually, that's actually a really smart idea, is to move everybody to a like Think Media account or something similar to that. And one thing to consider is, do you publicize the email address that you log into YouTube with? And if you do, that could give an attacker extra information that they could use to potentially breach into or hack into your account. So I'll give you an example. I use I don't know, I'll use sailormoon@gmail.com. That's not really my email address, so don't try it. But let's say I'm using sailormoon@gmail.com to log into my YouTube account, and I put that on my About page on my YouTube channel, and I say, this is how you can contact me if you want to do like ads or sponsors or promotions or whatever. And I get this email from somebody, and it says, there was a problem with your ad revenue, and you have to log into this link. And it's to the sailormoon@gmail.com account, the same one that I used to log in. If I see that, I'm going to think, oh, this might be legit. So I should probably check my ad revenue so I get paid this month because, ooh, I got to pay my mortgage. If you're using a separate account for your logins than you are for public information, then the attacker is going to get the public email and try to email you there. But if it's going to an email inbox that is public, that is not the one you use to log in, then you would know immediately that would be a red flag that somebody is trying to hack into your account, because Google is not going to send you an email to the public account when they can send it to the email that you use to log in. The legitimate Google knows what that login is, knows that email address, but nobody else should if you're keeping it private. So why would Google send you an email to your public one? That's a big red flag. So anybody
Super
out there
smart.
who is just using like one email address to log into all your things, just transfer your YouTube account to a different email address and make sure it's private. Like, don't tell anybody what that email account is, and then set it up with 2FA. And that way the only emails you should get there are legitimate ones from like Google.
And I think we had changed the front facing email, but because I started Think Media back in 2010, I sometimes would use it as like my main Gmail and even share it with people, like business connections. So like a small group of people, and that might not have been the vulnerability point, but your tip there is use a separate Gmail for your YouTube account that's dedicated, right? And that is not shared, not for in and outbound, just for logging into your precious YouTube account.
Just for logging in. Like, just almost treat it like a password. Like, you wouldn't tell anybody your password. Don't tell anybody what the email address associated with your YouTube account is either. That obviously is going to work better if you're just a one person operation. But if you do have a team, then maybe require them to use a separate email account to log in as well. And don't give them any access or permissions on their public email addresses. Smart.
So good. And then another tip you shared was audit online security, especially connected third-party apps. What are some examples of what those could be?
So third-party apps are applications that allow you to stick add-ons onto your YouTube channel. Some of the ones that I use are like vidIQ, TubeBuddy. Those are like third-party add-ons for your account. Usually those are going to authenticate with your account via this thing called OAuth, which is a secure way to log into your Google account and basically pair the two accounts together, your YouTube account and then the third-party add-on. And those are really great and very convenient because they let you do all sorts of cool things. But if you're kind of slap happy when it comes to adding things to your YouTube account, you could add something that's malicious. I don't think that vidIQ or TubeBuddy are malicious. In fact, I love those add-ons. They're amazing and they've helped me grow my business. But when it comes to like other just random things that you might find out there that somebody randomly recommended, do some research, see if they do their own security audits for their own company. See if they allow you to log in via OAuth or if they require you to type in your username and password for YouTube into their product, because they really shouldn't be. They should just be using authorization through Google. So there's, if you do see any like weird third-party apps that you don't recognize, just deny them. Just close them out and disapprove them or remove them from your account, from your YouTube account on the back end. And that's one less thing that you would have to worry about. And I believe you can control what third-party apps and like what browsers and what devices you're logged into through your Google account that's attached to your YouTube. So you can go to those settings through there.
Is there any vulnerability? I'm a big Google Chrome user. Is there any vulnerability of having certain extensions on Google Chrome that could make their way all the way over to mess with you somewhere else? And I'm looking at mine. I have like Rakuten.
I have like 20 extensions. So yeah, don't worry.
vidIQ. Right now I've got Zoom one up there. We are using 1Pass, which we can talk about that in a bit as well.
Yay.
And 1Password. So, but our extensions, that's different than third-party apps connected to your YouTube channel, which we're talking about being hacked here. But any thoughts there? Yeah,
that's a really good question. There have been some Google Chrome extensions for the Chrome browser that were allowing attackers to distribute malware through the extension store, like the online store for extensions where you can download and install them. So that has been found before. However, none of them, I believe, have been used directly associated with attacking YouTube channels. Not that I know of, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. So that's another way that you could definitely like audit your online security for this holistic approach, is to definitely look at like what kind of extensions you've downloaded, what you've downloaded on your computer itself, and see if there's anything that you're not using day to day for your business or for your workplace that you could just delete entirely or uninstall. That's a really good way to protect yourself. I'm glad you brought that up, actually.
Thinking about kind of macro as we create a game plan, and I want to encourage listeners, stick around because I've got some juicy questions just about the cyber threats we're facing in general, and thinking about the bigger picture, because it could be hacking our money or our bank accounts or our personal identity theft. We couldn't even cover all of that. Let's talk about some tools or some things what are some of the cyber threats that you think we're facing? And do you recommend things? I'll throw them at you, like a VPN.
Absolutely. I hope you're using a VPN, Sean.
I will be soon. And there's lots of different ones. Which ones do you recommend and why? And of course, we'll do a whole summary in the show notes. But
I'm so glad you mentioned that too. Oh my gosh, you're asking me like the perfect questions about security and privacy. It's so great. I'm so excited. VPNs are wonderful. They're a great way to protect your local information, and oftentimes VPNs will encrypt your data so that nobody else can see your data. You do have to trust the VPN that you're using, so keep that in mind. If you don't mind that Google is running a VPN, the Google One VPN is wonderful. It's great for protecting your traffic, especially if you need to log into like public Wi-Fi or something like that. That will protect your traffic so nobody can snoop on your data while it's in transit. Another one that I really recommend is called Proton VPN. That one has been highly, highly recommended in the cybersecurity community for quite a long time now. And I would say those are the two that I mostly recommend. Now, if you want to go into more details, I did do a YouTube video about some of my top VPNs, but those are the ones that I usually recommend for people to check out.
And just give a quick breakdown if we're new to VPNs. Maybe some of us only think, the reason we should get one is so we can watch Netflix shows in another country, as all sponsored YouTubers may promote. Entertainment channels. And then they're like, and it does a bunch of other cool stuff for you as well. But like,
I know nobody ever covers the cool stuff. Nobody ever covers like all my favorite stuff of VPNs. I love everything about VPNs. So it's basically like, it's like a secret tunnel that you're sticking your traffic through that's owned by VPN. So maybe they have a camera in that tunnel so they can see what's happening, but it protects your data from point A, which is you, to point B, which is whatever website you're trying to visit or whatever online shopping service you're trying to go to or whatever it might be. So that way, anybody that's snooping on both sides of the tunnel can't see what's going on inside the tunnel. So it's a secret tunnel. That's the easiest way to kind of explain what a VPN is. And in order to use one, it's very simple. You either download like download the installation file for it and put it on your computer so it works with all of your different devices or all of your different programs that you have in your computer. Or you can download an app on your phone or download an extension for your browser. Now, of course, read reviews, make sure it's a legitimate one. Check the terms and service of the VPN, make sure that they don't snoop on your traffic and sell it to third-party advertisers. If they don't disclose that information and then they do it anyway, they could get sued. So it's in their best interest to disclose this information in their terms of service. And then, you just use it every day. This does help you watch stuff in other countries. I've used one to buy tickets for a Japanese theme park, even though I wasn't in Japan. It totally worked. And then I went to Japan and got cheap tickets because they thought I was Japanese. It was great. But you can also use it to protect yourself whenever you're like on public Wi-Fi, or you have to use like your hotel's internet access in order to upload a video, which don't recommend because it's always too slow. So it will protect you from those kind of potential attacks of somebody trying to steal your information.
Would you recommend, as I am oftentimes in an airport, that I'm not logging into my YouTube channel on my phone or MacBook on airport Wi-Fi? And am I vulnerable from being there?
Don't do it. In fact,
don't log in, or don't even open YouTube at all. Don't even let my device be turned on.
Wi-Fi. Like, just turn off all your devices.
Am I vulnerable? Like if I get my laptop on airport Wi-Fi, does it now just matter which websites I go to, or should I not even use, unless I'm using a VPN?
Just don't. You can use a VPN. That will help with protection. Whenever I travel, I don't use any public Wi-Fi whatsoever. And the reason is because it's so easy for somebody else to pretend to be that wireless router, pretend to be that access point, and surreptitiously get you to like basically authenticate and log into their router and log into their Wi-Fi as opposed to the real airport Wi-Fi. So you got to watch out for that. And there's no way to tell which one is real and which one's fake. So for example, when you go to a airport and you want to hop on like the airport Wi-Fi and you go into like all the little Wi-Fi settings on your phone, you might see a few different ones that say like free airport Wi-Fi. I live in Denver, so Denver airport Wi-Fi, Denver Comcast free Wi-Fi, like whatever it might be. And you might not know which one is the real one. So if you click on one and it says you're connected, you're like, all right, I'm good to go. But how do you know that that's real? I say this because one of the companies I work for or work with created a device, a tool that is used by cybersecurity professionals to audit companies that allows them to duplicate Wi-Fi networks. And if they're within range of your device and your device is set to automatically connect to some known Wi-Fi network, it might automatically connect to a malicious network. So you really have to watch out for that. And it's so hard to tell. So I highly recommend just not connecting to Wi-Fi. No public Wi-Fi.
Got it. Okay. Scary, but really good advice.
Yeah, kind of scary, but yeah.
Password managers. I know that you just did a recent video about LastPass got like hacked again. And I say again, because I feel like it's happened multiple times. I know there's others.
The third time.
That's wild. Luckily, I suppose we've been using 1Pass for quite a while. Thing one, does every creator need to be using a password service like that in today's world?
Yes. If you aren't, what's wrong with you? No, I'm just playing. Password managers are very, very good. There's only so much information that we can remember in our minds. And when it comes to all these different devices that we're using in today's day and age, it's incredibly hard to remember all those passwords. So I highly recommend using a password manager, especially if you have a lot of online accounts, because the moment that you reuse a password across accounts, really focus on like YouTube accounts, especially if you're reusing that password on some other website and that some other website gets hacked and they weren't protecting your password correctly, then now somebody has your password and they could try it across a multitude of different websites and see which ones you were reusing it on. And if you're reusing it on YouTube, there you go. There's their entry point. And then you want to make sure you're using a hardware key. So if they have your password, they get blocked.
Yeah, if we follow all your tips, then it's like they can't get through. You have a steel gate, you have a moat, you have armed guards, you've got lots of different things. So, okay. So definitely use a password manager. Is there one you like?
Yeah, LastPass. No, I'm just kidding. I, I really like RoboForm. They have a very, very easy UI. It's really easy to use, and they have an extension. Another one that I really like is called Bitwarden. That one has a free option. So if you want something that's really inexpensive, there you go. Bitwarden is free. 1Password is probably the most advanced one that a lot of people use. I've used it as well because I've reviewed all of these. 1Password has a very advanced and very feature-rich platform, but they're more expensive. So it kind of depends on which one has the features that you're looking for. Like some people really need family sharing where they can share passwords across different accounts. So everybody in their household has access to it. Like if you have Netflix in your household, you might want to share that password with everybody, even though Netflix doesn't want you to. So there are like different features, and it kind of depends on exactly what you're looking for. A lot of people in the cybersecurity industry really like one called KeePass because that one is, I believe it's open source, and it also lets you do a local download. So you're not uploading any password manager information to a cloud service. But again, that would require you to have some kind of local storage, and your local storage needs to be secure as well. So a lot of things to consider when it comes to which one you want to choose. I feel like I should make a spreadsheet.
Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah, like a comparison in columns. That would be a huge resource. And yeah, we've been using 1Pass. We do love it. And when you talk about it being a little bit more expensive, if you're early on and this isn't your main revenue generator, then Bitwarden and free, you're going to be a lot safer than others.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that lower hanging fruit. But for me, especially after what we've been through, an investment in cybersecurity feels to us like it's always a good investment. And we're not trying to look for the cheapest option. We're not trying to, we save $50 because we, especially now, can extrapolate out not only the cost of potential lost revenue or future revenue, or how the worst case scenario of like completely losing the channel, but even just the cost of time, the cost of peace of mind, the cost of the frustration. It threw our whole day off. It threw multiple days off. It set us back. I'm less worried about there was the revenue that was not generated, but then there was also our entire team was now scrambling and focusing on this instead. My friend Shalene Johnson actually had her Instagram and Twitter and a couple other accounts all hacked, and her email address through social engineering. They got into her whole world, and it probably didn't have to cost this much, but when it came to redoing software, redoing devices, getting kind of their whole business in place, it ended up being $100,000 cost to their overall company as they were recovering from this. And so sometimes you think it's kind of almost like insurance. You're like, if I actually only pay this number and I never realize the potential savings, well, Murphy's Law, it's like, that's maybe the exact reason why. And it's the peace of mind. And so that's a great one. Another one, is there other tools? And one question I have for you, I've seen some advertised, none of the names are coming to my mind right now, but maybe it was an ad on Patrick Bet David's channel as a sponsor about, do you know that your information's on the dark web? Your passwords are probably going everywhere. This particular piece of software is going to like scour the internet, clean things up for you, or find things for you, give you alerts. Is there anything else like that you recommend?
Yeah, there is actually. There's a website that I recommend. It's called Have I Been Pwned, PWNED. It's like owned, but with a P. HaveIBeenPwned.com. They will search online for your email address in leaks that have happened to big companies. Like Adobe had a big leak years and years ago, but in that leak, one of my email addresses was exposed. So I got a notification from HaveIBeenPwned.com saying, hey, your email address was leaked. You might want to change your password on Adobe or your email address or both, just to be on the safe side, because we don't know if Adobe was protecting your password for their account in a way that was encrypted. So I did that, and then my account was safe. So that's a really good way to kind of keep up to date with what's going on the dark web without actually visiting the dark web. Just let somebody else do it. When you put your information into this website too, it's totally fine. It's totally secure. The data that they are getting from these breaches are from publicly made breaches. So anybody can see what email addresses are in these breaches. You're just using this database to find that information and get notifications. The original creator, his name is Troy Hunt, and he's been in cybersecurity for a really long time. And he did this kind of as a effort for the community to help protect people. And it's been something that I've recommended for like 10 years. Another option that you can use is, and disclaimer, they have been a sponsor on my channel, but I've been a paying customer of theirs for longer than that, way longer than that. DeleteMe.com, I want to say. They have a wonderful service that looks for data broker sites like yellow page sites or white page sites like Spokeo, People Finder, all that stuff. They will look for your information, your first and last name, email address, home address, which nobody working in YouTube wants random people showing up to your house. So they look for all that information on these data broker sites. They send opt-out requests for you to force these data broker sites to delete that information. And they do it on a reoccurring basis because it's a membership. So they do it like quarterly, and then they send you a report showing you what information they found and what information they removed. And they look at like, I want to say 60 plus different data broker sites. I didn't even know so many existed, but they help protect your information from getting out there. And when it comes to being like a public figure or being on YouTube, having that little piece of comfort, knowing that there's a company out there who is making sure that my data is not out on the web on all these different websites it's a comfort to me. So I use their product like all the time, and I love it, love it, love it.
So again, we'll put these resources in the show notes, so many good things and nuggets. But I put in one of my emails, and luckily this is my kind of throwaway email. Like this has been, I've actually had this email since high school, and it's
were you
not
in a breach
related to any of our business activities, but I put it into have I been pwned, and there's been 29 data breaches and 6 pastes. Bitly, Gravatar, LinkedIn, MGM Resorts, Twitter, Adobe, Animoto, Apollo, Canva.
Oh my gosh, Sean,
Dropbox,
that's a lot.
Evite, Kickstarter. But here are these brands, all these brands, MySpace, StockX.
Huge brands.
Tumblr, Zynga, Wayne Leo. I don't even know.
Oh my gosh.
What's a paste you've been found in? Paste is information that's been
paste.
Pasted. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like if an attacker just pasted a whole bunch of emails into like a document and then they threw it up on the web. That's a paste. It's called like a paste bin. So
really great resources. And this is definitely time, whether, listening to this episode to get your life secure, your account secure, think about getting the right tools in place. I definitely, as we land the plane, am excited I would love to talk again. And I know that this is probably some of our favorite episodes, one of the scariest episodes, but
I'm sorry if I scared anybody.
And it's just kind of the world we're living in. I know that some people too want to retreat, but I think it's just sort of, you need this education, and you just want the right tool, and you want to elevate yourself from that easy to get kind of just what is funny is I was talking to one of my very close kind of OG, they've been on YouTube over 10 years. And they were just talking about like actually how common it is for creators to still be using the same password. Maybe they've always been, they've never changed it. Like they've used it across websites and they just are unaware of this information. So this information is so powerful. Is there any other final tips or advice that you would recommend before we hear about how our community can connect with you and some of the stuff you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. So if you use a password manager, it makes it really easy to know what accounts you currently own. And every single year, companies are making upgrades to their security and privacy to better protect their customers. So I highly recommend, and this is something that I do as well, doing kind of an annual audit of going through your online accounts, seeing if there's any new like two-factor authentication you can turn on, or if they've had a breach, you should change your password. You could even see if there's websites that still have like old home addresses listed on them, and you could change those. If there's websites that you no longer use, you could delete them. And if you can't delete them, you can usually just put fake information into your account on their website. So if somebody did hack into those, then they would just have fake information. There's a way that you can go through like an annual audit and just make sure that things are good. You know, just do it on a weekend. Spend a weekend doing spring cleaning of your online accounts, and then you're good to go for another year. It doesn't have to be a complicated effort. And I feel like security and privacy can be really convenient if you use these tools and automate a lot of the processes, because a lot of it just comes down to putting in the effort at the very, very beginning, and then you're safe and you're good to go.
One final question before your stuff. Do you recommend, if you're a small business owner, and of course for anybody, people hire cybersecurity firms or consultants? Is that something you do, something you recommend? And at what level would that be necessary?
Heck no, I do not have time to do that myself. I'm running my own YouTube channel. I have enough to do. If you do have a big business, definitely you could absolutely consider that. There's some really wonderful cybersecurity companies out there. Some of them are run by my friends. So that's definitely something you could look into. There's a lot of references online for cybersecurity companies that will do like annual audits, or they will come in and make sure that your accounts and your online information is safe. And they'll write you up a report so you can see how to protect yourself. But big caveat is a lot of those are very, very expensive because they're using really expensive tools and they're using their own time and their own teams in order to give you this information so that you can better protect yourself. So you're looking at thousands and thousands of dollars in order to have these audits done. And if you're running a big company, then yeah, it can definitely be worth it. But if you're a smaller content creator, then you can use a lot of the consumer facing implementations of security and privacy to do similar things.
Shannon, one of the greatest episodes of all time and so much value. You are putting out great content on your channel, and for another part, it would be awesome to have you back someday to talk about your almost to 100,000 subscribers. You have a second channel that is at 10, so you're across 100,000, and you're featured on another account as well as a personality on there. You're doing a lot of cool things, Hack 5. And so, of course, we'll link to all of your stuff. But what do you want to shout out today? How can people connect with you?
Hack 5 is almost to 1 million. I'm very excited about that too. Probably my Twitter. That's where I'm most active. It's at Snubs, SNUBS, 1B, not 2. And then my YouTube channel is youtube.com/Shannon Morse, spelled just like my name. That's where I post a lot of my tutorials. And I'm also really active in the comments in the community to help people with their own security and privacy.
Amazing. And so Think Media Podcast, check out Shannon's stuff. Go binge some of her videos. We'll link to the channel, of course. And she will keep you in the know, keep you safe, so you can ultimately build your creator business and keep your privacy locked down. And so thank you so much, Shannon, for coming on the show.